Hello, survivors. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the story. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it, and thank you in advance. Please leave the name of the city you're listening from in the comment section below. It helps us see our reach in the community. Let's start the story. I've been documenting war for years, from Iraq to Syria, from Ukraine to Sudan. The patterns become familiar. The sounds, the smells, the predictable rhythm of human hatred. But what happened in Ramalan province yesterday? I don't even know how to process it. I'm writing this down because I need to make sense of it, and because someone should know what happened if I don't make it out. It was 0600 when I woke up in the basement of what used to be a school. The mortars had stopped, unusual for dawn in this place where the Ramalani separatists and government forces had been fighting for decades. My translator, Miguel, was already up listening to the radio with a furrowed brow. "Something's wrong," he muttered, adjusting the dial. "The usual military channels are chaotic. Listen." Through the static came broken transmissions, not the typical battlefield communications, but panicked voices speaking too fast to understand. Words like containment and bitten cut through the white noise. "Maybe there's been a chemical attack," I suggested, reaching for my flak jacket. As a photographer for Global Wire, I'd covered those before. Miguel shook his head. "This is different. They're evacuating the northern checkpoint." I grabbed my Nikon D850 and backup equipment. Whatever was happening, I needed images. That's my job, to show the world what war really looks like, stripped of politics and propaganda. The silence outside was unnerving. Ramalan's dawn chorus usually featured distant gunfire and the rumble of armored vehicles. Today, nothing but birds and wind rustling through bullet-riddled walls. "We should head to the central market," I said. "Better visibility there, and we can gauge what's happening." Miguel nodded reluctantly. He'd been with me for 3 years, and I trusted his instincts. If he was worried, there was good reason. The streets were deserted except for abandoned military checkpoints. Papers blew across the ground, dancing between shell casings. Where had everyone gone? I snapped photos of empty guard posts, images that would tell a story of sudden desertion. Then came the first scream. It tore through the morning air from several blocks away, a sound of pure terror that made my skin crawl. Miguel and I exchanged glances. We'd heard screams before, too many, but this was different. Primal, almost inhuman. "We should go back," Miguel whispered. But I couldn't. That's the curse of this job. The need to bear witness, to document. "Just a little closer," I insisted. We crept toward the market square, keeping to the shadows. The smell hit us first, coppery like an abattoir floor. Blood, too much of it. The square had been a government outpost just yesterday. Now it was... God, I don't know how to describe it. Bodies lay sprawled across the pavement, some in uniform, some civilian. But what turned my blood to ice was the movement. Some of the fallen were getting back up. I raised my camera instinctively, focusing on a government soldier whose throat had been torn out. His eyes, clouded with a milky film, swept across the square until they fixed on a figure huddled behind an overturned market stall. "Greg, over there!" Miguel hissed, pointing to our right. A Ramalani fighter. I recognized the distinctive red bandana was backing away from a group of shambling figures. His rifle was raised, but he wasn't firing. His hands trembled as 3 corpses, their flesh gray and mottled, cornered him against a wall. I started shooting frames, the camera's shutter whirring rapidly. The fighter finally pulled the trigger, hitting one in the chest. The corpse stumbled but kept coming. Another shot, another hit, no effect. "Headshot, damn it," someone yelled from across the square. Looking up, I saw a government captain, Captain Siller according to the interviews I'd done last week, crouched on a balcony. He was aiming his service pistol at the advancing corpses. "Aim for the head," he shouted again to the rebel fighter. The fighter hesitated for only a moment before adjusting his aim. The shot rang out, and one of the corpses collapsed, truly dead this time. But it was too late for the other shots. The remaining corpses lunged forward, teeth sinking into flesh. The fighters' screams joined the cacophony rising all around us. That's when I realized The city wasn't empty, it was becoming something else. "We need to move," Miguel said, tugging at my sleeve. "Those things, they're like the stories my grandmother used to tell. Los muertos que caminan. The walking dead. Zombies." The word caught in my throat like a bone. As we retreated, the camera kept working. I captured images of a dead woman in a flowered dress, her jaw working hungrily as she pursued a fleeing child. Of two men, one in rebel colors, one in government uniform, standing back to back against a crowd of the dead. "This way," Miguel urged, pulling me toward an administrative building. "We can get to the roofs." We scaled a fire escape, the metal groaning beneath our weight. From the rooftop, the scale of the catastrophe became clear. The eastern quarter was ablaze, thick black smoke curling into the sky. To the west, vehicles jammed the roads leading out of the city, many abandoned, others surrounded by feeding corpses. My satellite phone buzzed, the first signal in hours. It was my editor, Lisa. Her voice crackled and distant. "Greg, thank God. Are you okay? What's happening there?" "I don't know how to explain this," I replied, my voice shaking. "It's like it's happening everywhere," she cut in. "Reports coming in from across the globe. Some kind of pandemic. The infected die and then they get back up. Military's calling it reanimation syndrome. CDC's overwhelmed. You need to get out of there." "How?" I asked, watching as a helicopter spiraled out of control, crashing into the hospital downtown. "The airport's on the other side of the city. There's a military extraction point being set up at the dam," she said, her voice breaking up. 10 miles north. They're evacuating foreign nationals. You need to—" The line went dead. "The dam," I relayed to Miguel. "Military evac point." He nodded. Calculating. We'd need transportation. Too far to walk safely. A burst of gunfire drew our attention to the street below. A mix of government soldiers and rebels had formed an impromptu barricade using 2 trucks. They were holding off a swarm of the dead, shooting with precision now, targeting heads. "Those trucks could get us to the dam," I said. "If they don't shoot us first," Miguel pointed out. "They're working together," I replied, gesturing to the improbable alliance below. "The dead have given them a common enemy." We made our way down to the street, approaching with hands raised. A government officer spotted us, swinging his rifle in our direction. "Journalist," I called out. "American press." The rifle lowered slightly. "Get over here," the officer barked. "Quickly." We ran to the barricade, ducking behind it as bullets continued to fly overhead. I found myself shoulder to shoulder with Captain Siller, the same government officer who'd called out to the rebel fighter earlier. His uniform was spattered with dark blood and a fresh bandage was wrapped around his forearm. "You're the photographer," he said, recognition flickering in his eyes. "The one who was at the hospital last week." I nodded, surprised he remembered me. "Hope you got what you wanted," he said bitterly. "Photos of us killing each other. Now we're all just meat for those things." A rebel commander, I knew him as the Lion, a brutal tactician responsible for dozens of government casualties, stepped forward. "The trucks are nearly out of fuel," he said, addressing Siller as if they weren't sworn enemies. "We need to move before more arrive." "The dam," I interjected. "There's an evacuation point." "We know." The Lion cut me off. "Military broadcast. Problem is getting there." He gestured to the street ahead, crawling with the dead. "We're surrounded." I looked at my camera, then at the desperate faces around me. Soldiers who had been trying to kill each other yesterday were now passing ammunition clips back and forth, coordinating defense. "What happened?" I asked. "How did this start?" Captain Siller shook his head. "Field hospital was overrun at 0400. Patients who died from their wounds, they came back. Attacked medical staff. By dawn, it was everywhere. The infection spread through bites," added a rebel fighter, a young woman with haunted eyes. "Johnson was bitten trying to barricade the cathedral. He died of fever within an hour, then he changed." The dead continued to press against our makeshift barricade, their moans forming a terrible chorus. I raised my camera, capturing the face of a young girl, no more than 10, her eyes vacant pools, her small teeth gnashing at the air between us. "We're wasting time," the Lion growled. We need to break through now, while we still have ammunition." Captain Siller gave a curt nod. "All units prepare to move out. Conserve ammunition, headshots only." As the soldiers readied themselves, I could see the calculation in their eyes. How far was the dam? How many bullets did they have? How many of those things stood between them and safety? I checked my camera's memory card. Full. I switched to my backup and caught a final image of this unlikely brotherhood. Enemies united by a horror greater than their hatred. Then I tucked the camera away and picked up a fallen pistol. Today, I couldn't just be an observer. Today, I had to survive. "Stay close to me," Miguel whispered as engines roared to life. "Whatever happens." The barricade began to move, and the dead began to feast. The trucks lurched forward with a groan of metal. Soldiers crammed in the back while others clung to the sides. I wedged myself between Miguel and a government medic, my camera pressed to my chest. For the first time in my career, I was part of the story, not just documenting it. Captain Siller took the lead truck, directing our trajectory through the tangled streets. The Lion, rifle in hand, stood in the back, picking off the dead with methodical precision. Every shot punctuated the desperate silence between us. 10 rounds left," he announced, voice steady despite everything. "Make them count." Our convoy smashed through a small cluster of the dead, their bodies making wet, dull thuds against the reinforced bumper. I fought the urge to vomit as blood spattered across the windshield. The wipers smeared it into crimson streaks, obscuring our view. "There's too many," the driver shouted, swerving to avoid a pileup of abandoned vehicles. He was right. The dead filled the street ahead, a writhing mass of torn flesh and reaching arms. Some wore civilian clothes, others military uniforms from both factions. Death had made them equals. "Side street," Miguel pointed to a narrow alley between 2 apartment buildings. "We can cut through there." The truck veered sharply, throwing us against each other. I grabbed the side rail to steady myself, my knuckles white with strain. The buildings closed in around us, scraping the sides of the truck with a screech that made my teeth hurt. Halfway through the alley, the engine sputtered and died. "Fuel lines hit," the driver cursed, slamming his palm against the dashboard. "We're not going anywhere." Captain Siller leapt down from the cab, assessing our situation with a tactical eye. "Second truck, back out and find another route. Radio when you reach the dam." The second vehicle reversed, its tires squealing on blood-slicked pavement. We watched it disappear around the corner, taking half our force with it. "What about us?" asked a young rebel. No more than 20, his eyes wide with fear. "We go on foot," the Lion replied, scanning the rooftops. "Through the buildings. It's 3 miles to the dam from here." Siller nodded in agreement, an unprecedented accord between lifelong enemies. "Teams of 4, move quietly, conserve ammunition." I checked my camera's battery, still half full. Whatever happened, I needed to document this. Not just the horror of the dead rising, but this remarkable alliance born from desperation. "You stay with me," Miguel whispered, gripping my arm. "No heroics." We entered the nearest building, stepping over the body of an elderly woman sprawled in the doorway. Her skull had been crushed by something heavy. A mercy kill, I realized. Someone she loved had ensured she wouldn't rise again. Inside, the apartment building was eerily quiet. Family photos still hung on walls. A child's toy lay abandoned on the stairs. The mundane scenes of interrupted lives struck me harder than any battlefield I'd ever photographed. We climbed to the 3rd floor, moving from apartment to apartment by crossing balconies and breaking through doors. Our group had shrunk to 8, Miguel and I, Captain Siller, the Lion, and 4 soldiers of mixed allegiance. "Hold," Siller whispered, raising a closed fist. From the apartment ahead came a soft, rhythmic thumping. The Lion readied his knife, quieter than a gun. He eased the door open, revealing a dining room where a woman in a bathrobe pounded her head against the wall with mechanical repetition. Blood had dried in black rivers down her face. She turned at the sound of the door, her movements fluid yet wrong somehow, like a marionette with half its strings cut. Her jaw hung loose, working silently as she spotted us. The lion moved with practiced efficiency, driving his knife up through her chin and into her brain. She collapsed without a sound. "Why do they do that?" Miguel whispered as we stepped around her body. "The head banging?" "No idea," offered the medic. "A woman named Torres. We know almost nothing about what's happening, but they seem to retain basic movement patterns, walking, biting, maybe even repetitive motions from before death." "Save the speculation," Siller cut in. "We need to keep moving." By midday, we'd covered about a mile. The dam was still a distant hope, separated from us by countless dangers. We paused in what had once been a school principal's office to rest and regroup. "We need to find food and water," said Torres, checking our meager supplies. "And more ammunition." The lion pointed to a map on the wall. "Police station, 2 blocks from here. Should have both." "Too risky," Siller countered. "Those places were overrun first when communication networks failed." "We have no choice," the lion insisted. "Without ammunition, we're dead anyway." Their argument was interrupted by a crackle from Siller's radio. A voice, distorted by static, broke through. "Approaching dam perimeter. Heavy casualties. The eastern road is compromised. Repeat, eastern approach is overrun. Any units in the vicinity respond." Siller snatched up the radio. "This is Captain Siller, 3rd Infantry. We are approximately 2 miles south with civilians. Request guidance." The response was broken but clear enough. "Western approach still viable. Helicopter extraction in progress but limited capacity. Priority to military personnel and foreign nationals. Final extraction at 1600 hours. 4 o'clock. We had less than 4 hours to cover 2 miles of zombie-infested territory. They're leaving at sunset, the lion translated, his face hardening. With or without us. I checked my watch, 12:27. We need to move faster, I said, calculating the distance. Even if we detour to the police station. What's at the police station? Came a voice from the doorway. We all spun around, weapons raised. A man stood there, hands up, his face haggard but very much alive. He wore the tattered remains of a business suit, now stained with dirt and blood. Who are you? Siller demanded. Jacob Miller. I was at a trade conference when this happened. His voice cracked. Been hiding in the supply closet for hours. Heard voices and thought, hoped it was help. The lion lowered his weapon slightly. You alone? Jacob nodded. Everyone else in the building either escaped or... He didn't need to finish. We're heading to the dam, I explained. Military evacuation. Hope flickered across his face. Can I come with you, please? Stay in the middle, Siller instructed. And if you have any skills useful in a fight, now's the time to mention them. I was in the Army Reserves, Jacob offered. 10 years ago. Better than nothing, the lion muttered. With our new addition, we pressed on, skirting the main roads where possible. At the edge of the commercial district, we encountered our first major obstacle, a boulevard teeming with the dead, shoulder to shoulder for at least 100 yards. We'll never get through that, Torres whispered. We go around, Siller decided, consulting his mental map of the city. Through the subway tunnels, my stomach tightened. The tunnels would be dark, confined, perfect hunting grounds for the dead. Are you insane? Jacob protested. We'll be trapped down there. The station's just on the other side, Siller countered. Tunnels are our best option. We located a subway entrance half a block away and descended cautiously into the gloom. The emergency lights provided dim illumination, just enough to see but not enough to feel safe. The air below was stagnant, tinged with the sweet, sour smell of decay. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, a steady plink-plink that masked other, more dangerous sounds. Stay close, Miguel whispered, his breath warm against my ear. We moved along the platform and dropped down to the tracks. The tunnel stretched before us like a throat, swallowing what little light reached it. How far? I asked, my voice echoing despite my attempt to keep it low. 2 stops, Siller replied. Then we come up right beside the police station. Our progress was painfully slow. Every few yards, someone would freeze at a sound, real or imagined. and we'd all hold our breath listening for the shuffle of dead feet or the hungry moan that would signal our discovery. It was in this tense silence that I heard it first. A soft splash of water, different from the rhythmic dripping. Then another, closer this time. "Something's in here with us," Miguel breathed. Before anyone could respond, a shriek pierced the darkness ahead. Not the moan of the dead, but the terrified scream of the living. A figure burst from the shadows, running blindly toward us. "Help me!" a woman cried, her voice raw with panic. "They're coming." Behind her, the darkness stirred. Dozens of pale shapes emerged, moving with that distinctive halting gait. Underground, away from the sun, they seemed more monstrous, like cave-dwelling predators that had never known light. "Run!" Siller ordered, abandoning stealth for speed. We raced through the tunnel, the strange woman joining our flight without question. The sounds of pursuit grew louder. Not just moans now, but a wet slapping of feet in puddles, growing faster as the dead gave chase. "There!" the lion shouted, pointing to a maintenance door set into the tunnel wall. "In there!" We veered toward it, Torres reaching it first. She yanked the handle, but it held fast. "It's locked!" Jacob shouldered past her, ramming into the door with desperate strength. Metal screeched as hinges gave way, and we tumbled into a narrow maintenance corridor. "Block it!" Sealer commanded. Miguel and I threw our weight against the door, slamming it shut as pale hands reached through the gap. A rebel soldier wedged a metal bar through the handles, securing it temporarily. The corridor led to a utility room, which in turn connected to a maintenance elevator. The panel indicated emergency power was still functioning. "Think it works?" the lion asked, jabbing the call button skeptically. To everyone's surprise, lights flickered on and the elevator hummed to life. "Where does it go?" I asked. Siller examined a faded diagram on the wall. "Service level for the stations. From there we can find stairs to street level." When the elevator arrived, we piled in, bodies pressed uncomfortably close. The doors closed with agonizing slowness, and we began our ascent. "Thank you," the woman said quietly, "for not leaving me down there." The lion grunted. "The dead don't discriminate. Neither should we." We learned her name was Emily, a college student who'd been separated from her group. She was the sole survivor. The elevator lurched to a halt, doors opening onto a corridor lined with maintenance equipment. We emerged into the station's main concourse, finding it eerily deserted. Blood trails marked the floor, but no bodies, dead or otherwise, were visible. "Where are they?" Jacob whispered, anxiety sharpening his voice. A soft thump from the ticket booth answered his question, then another from a shuttered newsstand. "They're hiding," Miguel realized, horror dawning on his face. "That's not possible," Torres objected. "They don't have the cognitive ability to—" Her words died as a corpse burst from behind a column, tackling her to the ground. More emerged from behind benches, inside maintenance closets, and beneath debris, places they'd simply stumbled into and remained until disturbed by our movement. "They've evolved!" Jacob shouted, firing wildly. "No," I replied, raising my camera even as I backpedaled from snapping jaws. "They're just drawn to movement. Some probably wandered in here and got stuck until something triggered them." The concourse became chaos. Gunfire echoed deafeningly off tile walls as our group scattered, each fighting to create space between themselves and the dead. I lost sight of Miguel in the confusion, my focus narrowing to the immediate threat of a subway worker, his uniform shredded, lunging for my throat. I pivoted, using my camera bag as a shield. His teeth sank into the leather, giving me time to draw the pistol I'd taken earlier. One shot, clean through the temple, and he collapsed. "This way," Siller called from the top of an escalator. "Street level, move!" I looked frantically for Miguel, spotting him cornered against a ticket counter. Two of the dead advanced on him, while a third, a child in a blood-soaked soccer uniform, circled behind. Without thinking, I ran toward him, firing as I went. My first shot went wide, the second caught one in the shoulder, spinning it but not stopping it. The third, my last bullet, found its mark and the lead corpse tumbled forward. Miguel dispatched the second with his knife, but the child was on him before he could turn. I watched in horror as small teeth closed on his forearm. "No!" I screamed, reaching them and kicking the undead child away. But it was too late. I could see from Miguel's face that he knew it too. "Greg," he said, his voice resigned as he looked at the bite. "You have to go." "I'm not leaving you," I insisted, tearing a strip from my shirt to bind the wound. As if that would make any difference. He pushed me away. "Don't be stupid. We both know what happens now." The lion appeared beside us, his expression grim as he assessed the situation. "Is he bit?" I stepped in front of Miguel protectively. "He's fine. We need to move." "Greg," Miguel said firmly, "don't lie for me. Not now." The lion's eyes softened with something like compassion. "We can't bring him, you know that." I did know. I'd seen how quickly the infection spread, how inevitable the transformation was. But this was Miguel, my friend, my colleague, my lifeline in countless dangerous situations. "Give us a minute," I asked, my voice cracking. The lion nodded. 1 minute. "Then we have to go." When he'd walked away, Miguel gripped my shoulder. "Listen to me, get to the dam, get those photos out. People need to see what happened here." "Miguel, you have my voice recorder in your bag," he continued. "The interviews we did yesterday with the refugees, their stories deserve to be told too." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. "And Greg, don't look back, not for anyone." I joined the others at the station exit, not looking back even when I heard the soft click of Miguel loading his final bullet. Some mercies you can't photograph. Outside, the police station stood across a small plaza. The building showed signs of a desperate last stand. Barricaded windows, bullet-riddled walls, bloodstains on the steps. Inside, gun cabinets hung open, some still containing weapons. "Jackpot," the lion said, grabbing rifles and boxes of ammunition. We rearmed quickly, taking only what we could carry efficiently. I found a backpack and filled it with energy bars and water bottles from a break room vending machine. Every movement was mechanical, my mind still reeling from Miguel's loss. Our newly armed group moved with renewed purpose through the streets, avoiding major thoroughfares where the dead congregated in greater numbers. The western side of the city was less densely populated, giving us clearer paths. But as we neared the dam, a new obstacle emerged. A military checkpoint had been established a quarter mile from our destination. Soldiers in hazmat suits were screening arrivals, turning away anyone showing signs of infection. "They're checking for bites," Jacob observed. A cold realization settled over us. None of us were infected, not after Miguel, but we'd all been exposed. Blood and other fluids from the dead covered our clothes and skin. "We need to clean up," I said. "As best we can." A canal ran alongside the road, its water relatively clear. We took turns washing away the worst of the blood and gore, using torn pieces of clothing as makeshift washcloths. As I scrubbed at a dark stain on my sleeve, I noticed the lion watching the checkpoint with narrowed eyes. "Something's wrong," he said quietly. Following his gaze, I saw what had concerned him. The soldiers were turning away far more people than they were admitting, including some who appeared uninjured. "They're running out of room," Siller concluded, his face hardening. "The evacuation choppers can only take so many." "So what do we do?" Emily asked, fear tightening her voice. "We split up," Siller decided. "Smaller groups have a better chance of getting through." "I'll take the journalist," the lion said. "His press credentials might help." I started to protest, but Siller cut me off. "He's right. Guards will be looking for military personnel first. Your civilian press, international, you have priority." We divided our supplies as fairly as possible. When everything was distributed, Siller extended his hand to the lion, a gesture that would have been unthinkable 24 hours ago. "Good luck," he said simply. The lion gripped his hand firmly. "To all of us." I raised my camera, capturing this historic handshake between enemies. Whatever happened next, I needed the world to see this moment, when hatred was suspended in the face of a greater threat. The lion and I approached from a maintenance access road, using his knowledge of the area's geography to avoid the main checkpoint. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the landscape. According to the radio transmission, the final evacuation would leave at 1600 hours. My watch read 3:38 p.m. We had 22 minutes to reach safety. There, the Lion pointed to a chain-link fence separating the maintenance road from the main evacuation zone. We can cut through there. He produced wire cutters, part of our police station hall, and made quick work of the barrier. We slipped through, finding ourselves in what had once been a staging area for dam workers. Now it was a processing center for evacuees, with military personnel directing a thinning crowd toward waiting helicopters. Your press badge, the Lion reminded me. Keep it visible. I pulled my global wire credentials from my camera bag, hanging them around my neck. The plastic card seemed absurdly normal amid the apocalyptic scene around us. We approached a checkpoint where a harried-looking officer was checking identification. People were being categorized and separated, military to one side, foreign nationals to another, civilians to a third staging area that seemed to be moving much more slowly. Press, I said, holding up my ID. Global Wire, United States. The officer barely glanced at it before waving me through to the foreign national section. But when the Lion tried to follow, a soldier blocked his path. Military personnel that way, he directed, pointing to a different processing area. The Lion hesitated, looking at me. I could see the calculation in his eyes. His chances of evacuation were significantly lower in the military section, where priority would go to government forces. He's my security, I improvised. Assigned by local authorities. I have documentation. The officer looked skeptical, but another helicopter was landing, and the noise made conversation difficult. With a grunt of annoyance, he waved us both through. In the waiting area, about 30 people huddled in a makeshift pen. Most were journalists or aid workers, their organizational logos emblazoned on dusty jackets and caps. A few were business travelers caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're taking 12 at a time, a woman explained, noticing my confusion. That's all each chopper can hold. 2 more runs, they said. I did the math. If she was right, not everyone here would make it out. And from the military section, even fewer would secure spots. We should have stayed together, I said to the Lion, regret washing over me. Siller and the others, he shook his head. They knew the odds, we all did. A soldier with a clipboard approached our pen. Next group, when I call your name, move to the landing pad in an orderly fashion. Names were called one by one. Relief on the faces of those selected turned to guilt as they moved past those left behind. My name wasn't among them. As the helicopter lifted off, I scanned the military section, looking for Siller. Instead, I spotted Emily and Jacob, still waiting with dozens of others. No sign of the captain or his remaining soldiers. Last chopper in 5 minutes, the clipboard soldier announced. Final manifest being prepared now. The Lion stiffened beside me. Something's wrong, he said, his voice low. Following his gaze, I saw a disturbance at the far perimeter fence. Soldiers were congregating, weapons raised. A moment later, gunfire erupted. Short, controlled bursts that spoke of military training rather than panic. Through my lens, I could see figures approaching the fence. Living people. Desperate for evacuation, trying to force their way in. The soldiers were firing warning shots, but the crowd wasn't dispersing. They're going to rush the fence, I realized, my stomach dropping. There are hundreds of them. And behind them, the Lion pointed to movement beyond the desperate civilians. I adjusted my focus, the lens revealing what the naked eye couldn't see clearly. A mass of the dead, drawn by the commotion, shambling inexorably toward the dam. The soldier with the clipboard returned, reading names with rapid-fire efficiency. This time, mine was called. Gregory Michelson, Global Wire. I stepped forward, then turned to the Lion. He hadn't been called. I'm not leaving without my security, I stated firmly, gripping his arm. The soldier glanced at his clipboard, then at the distant fence where the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Fine, move now. We jogged to the helicopter, its rotors already spinning up. As we approached, I saw Siller running toward us from the military section, waving frantically. "Wait!" he shouted over the engine noise. "Wait!" The loadmaster was already closing the door, but I wedged my camera bag in the gap. "There's room for more," I insisted. "My colleagues are coming." Siller reached us, breathing hard. Emily and Jacob were just behind him, along with Torres and one other soldier from our group. "We have room for 3 more," the pilot shouted. "That's it. Weight restrictions." We were 6. My heart sank as the implications set in. Someone wouldn't make it out. "You 3, Siller decided instantly, pointing to Emily, Jacob, and Torres. "Go!" "Captain," Torres protested, but he cut her off. "That's an order. Get on that chopper now." The 3 climbed aboard, leaving Siller, the Lion, and me still on the tarmac. The fence at the perimeter gave way with a metallic shriek, and the crowd surged forward, soldiers falling back in a fighting retreat. "You should go," the Lion said to me. "Get those photos out, like your friend said." Miguel's final request echoed in my mind. People need to see what happened here. "There's room for 1 more, the loadmaster called. "We're leaving now." Siller and the Lion looked at each other, then at me. In that moment, I saw something extraordinary. 2 commanders, lifelong enemies, united in purpose and respect. "Both of you go," I said, making a split-second decision. "I'll find another way." "Don't be a fool," Siller objected. "This is the last evacuation." "I'm a journalist," I replied, backing away from the helicopter. "I need to document this, all of it." The Lion studied my face, then nodded once, understanding what I couldn't articulate, that I couldn't leave, not with Miguel's sacrifice so fresh, not with the story still unfolding. "Your camera," he said, holding out his hand. "Give me your memory cards. I'll make sure they reach your editor." I hesitated for only a moment before extracting the cards from my camera and voice recorder. "There's more on my laptop, in my bag." The loadmaster was shouting now, the helicopter beginning to lift. Siller pushed the Lion toward it. "Go," he commanded. "I'll stay with the journalist. 2 have a better chance than 1. The Lion opened his mouth to argue, but gunfire erupted nearby. The dead had reached the outer defense line. With a final nod to us both, he leapt aboard the rising helicopter. I watched it climb into the darkening sky, my camera cards and Miguel's recording safely aboard. Whatever happened next, the truth would reach the world. "Now what?" I asked Siller, as chaos engulfed the evacuation zone around us. He checked his rifle, face set with grim determination. "Now we survive, 1 day at a time." As the sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows across what remained of civilization, I raised my camera one final time. Through the viewfinder, I captured the last helicopter disappearing into the distance, carrying with it our evidence, our voices, our truth. Behind us, the dead advanced. Before us, an uncertain future beckoned, sure. And somewhere between, Siller and I stood ready, enemies no longer. Just survivors in a world where the old hatreds had died, but the dead walked on. In 12 years of war photography, I documented humanity at its worst. Now, somehow in the midst of this nightmare, I'd witnessed it at its best. Cooperation born from desperation, compassion forged in horror. The story wasn't over, it was just beginning. And I would be there to record every moment for as long as I could, for Miguel, for the truth, for whatever world might emerge from the ashes of this one.